Welcome back. Welcome back. We are here for another edition of what would you call this, Morgan?
Which one of our podcasts would this fall under? Daily Planet?
Daily Planet. We are here for another Daily Planet review. I am your host, Marcus Flowers, aka Flo, aka Call Me What You Want. Just don't call me lazy. And the person rubbing his eyes on my other side is none other than my co-host.
Y'all know who it is. He who shall not be named. He who stands above all else. He who will rise above Metro Meta. I just woke up, so I'm tired. Okay.
And we are here. Well, before we really jump into things, how has your winter break been so far?
Pretty chill. I got back into Yu-Gi-Oh! I've been watching Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, and I'm probably gonna head to Wizard's Chest later on today. Get some protectors for my cards.
So Yu-Gi-Oh 5D, the Yu-Gi-Oh Duel Links game, I stopped playing at 5D because at that point it just got too what's the word? Too complicated when it came to the tuners and the non-tuners, and it
Tuners
wasn't
and non-tuners are not that hard.
But okay, but as a person who was going from Yugi to who's the second one, Yami?
Not Yami. The GX guy, Jaden.
Jaden, and to now the five duelings, I was like, you know what? I don't have to put up with this. And it was worse because you get the option to choose the different decks that you're using. So I would go in with the Yugi deck and I would get smashed. So then I would go in with the Jaden deck and I get smashed. And then I would try with the Kaiba deck and I get smashed. And then I would try with the Tuner starter deck. And I was just so out of it. I was like, this makes absolutely no sense.
It's not hard once you think about it. It's just there's tuner monsters and there's regular monsters. And the tuner monster, it's just like a specific special summons.
Yeah, I was over it. But we're not here to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm sure we're going to have a retrospective on that later on. But we are here to talk about the first WBDC film that went straight to streaming, Wonder Woman 1984. Let me just read the synopsis. Diana Prince lives quietly among mortals in the vibrant, sleek 1980s, an era of excess driven by the pursuit of having it all. Though she's coming to her full power, she maintains a low profile by curating ancient artifacts and only performing heroic acts incognito. But soon Diana will have to muster all of her full strength, wisdom, and courage as she finds herself squaring off against Maxwell Lord and the Cheetah, a villainess who possesses superhuman strength and agility. So my first critique about this film was that it was set in Washington, D.C. in the 1980s, and there were absolutely no black people. Well, wait, that's messed up because there was a few black people in the mall scene, and I don't understand how she could be incognito if she's openly saving people in the mall. But that's for later on. But Morgan, give me your overall thoughts about this movie.
I thought it was fine. I have no idea why people are out here being like, this movie's awful. I'm just like, it's fine. It's like, it's a okay movie. It's still better than Thor: The Dark World, which I saw in theaters, and I'm still mad about that. So,
yeah, I think it was fine for its purpose. But I think one of the things that really just hurts the superhero movies is that if it's not Marvel, it's graded on a curve. So like we're not holding Wonder Woman to the same standard as the Five Bloods or any of the other blockbuster movies that came out this year, or even like Tenet or something like that. And they're two different concepts, and I understand that. However, when it came to Wonder Woman, it was cheesy, but Wonder Woman did not look like she could fight. And just watching Birds of Prey earlier this year, I really thought, how can Harley? It looked like Harley Quinn can't put up a fight against Wonder Woman, and that should not happen.
yeah. As far as like like keeping her identity a secret. Like they did the whole like she cut out the cameras and like whispered to the girl like don't say anything, but like everybody saw you. You were like running around doing 30 different things. Everybody saw you do this bank heist. It just seems like a lot. Let's start with Cheetah. Let's start with Cheetah. How did you feel about her and her
I
portrayal?
I love Cheetah. We didn't get enough of her as Cheetah, and I think that's kind of the Jennifer Lawrence effect. Because if you remember, when she started to gain her popularity, she also was Mystique in the X-Men franchises, and she said, "I don't want to be in the, I don't want my skin in the blue makeup for all that long, for all that time." And so the X-Men franchises really retconned it so that Mystique could turn. Well, she could always turn, but she was more in her physical. She was more as her human form than her mutant form. And I think that's what we're getting with Cheetah because we literally only saw Cheetah for that one segment of the movie towards the end. And it's just like, I know it was, the movie was 2.5 hours. So you mean to tell me that we only got Cheetah for that one portion of the movie? I think it would have served the audience better if we didn't have the women ties towards their men more. If instead of them being tied towards their companions and to their male counterparts, we really saw them step out on their own, and it was really a contrast from the first Wonder Woman when Wonder Woman was like, "I don't need a man to do this, and that." And then we get the exact opposite of our heroine in this one. But yeah, but overall with Cheetah, I just feel like we should have saw more of her development. We should have saw her become the apex predator earlier in the film than at the end.
It definitely seems like they were wrestling with a lot of things in this movie. You had Chris Pine's plotline. You had the wishing stone, which I don't think was very well explained. They were just like, "Oh, ancient god did such and such." I was like, "Which one?"
Right.
Like, I definitely, honestly, I would like it if Wonder Woman leaned more towards the mythological elements of her backstory, like going into like Greek and Roman
Yeah,
mythology,
absolutely.
or even just like other mythologies, like Egyptian or Aztec, or just literally anything else other than because I'm not as well versed in Wonder Woman's mythology, but like if they would lean more into the mythological element as opposed to the superhero element, I think that would really make her stand out more, even compared to Thor, where they just sprinkle in the mythological
Yeah,
element.
and with even with the Wonder Woman, her new 52 series run, she was literally facing and going up against gods like Ares and even like Zeus. So for them to really make her this grounded, and they pulled from the new 52 version of that Wonder Woman series. So it's just like for them to pull from that and to make her this grounded character, it not only hurts Wonder Woman, it just hurts the DC universe in general because Wonder Woman is literally a goddess, and she should not be going blows to blows with a man who has a wishing stone, or even a woman who made a wish off of a wishing stone. But so the villain of this series, not the series of the movie, Maxwell Lord. What were your thoughts on Maxwell Lord and his motivations?
I thought that was a good portrayal, especially for the time period.
Right.
This ideal of being like this fast talking businessman who has all the plans, and in reality it's just a phase, and he's really not actually being as successful, and him just taking a dive at this wishing stone. I think it really hit the theme of the movie. I think one thing that I enjoyed about it was they tried to connect this wishing stone to like as many civilizations as possible, and that because people were never willing to give up their wish, their civilization fell. And I think that is a good indicator of the time. And they really did show what sort of mess would happen if everyone in the world just got their wish all of a sudden, and how crazy it would be, and how people wouldn't actually be thinking through their wishes. I
Right.
don't think people would have gave up their wish though.
Yeah, no, I think especially like in a climate that we are now, like we see people are even like refusing to deal with like mandates to save the world, and they're like, no, whatever. So they would not have been giving up their wish. I think Maxwell Lord's aspirations made complete sense, and that's even something that I feel like everybody has to deal with. It's just like there comes a point in your life when you're like, okay, I want more, I want more. But when is more just enough, and you don't need more? And when you're comfortable living the way you're living. And with Maxwell Lord, we don't see that. We see a constantly driven man whose goal is to get more, and he just wants more. And his definition of more isn't really defined. It's just like, I want more power. But okay, now I want your land. Now I want your country. Now I want respect. And I feel like that's something that everybody can relate to. But I think this Maxwell Lord's motivation, it could have been, he should have been the B character, and Cheetah should have been the A character. Just because when it comes to Wonder Woman, and especially in this current era that we're in, when it comes to like women empowerment and making sure that girls have power and they see themselves in representation on the screen, when you fall back to a plot of a man that we've seen, that a plot of a man that we've seen plenty of times before in movies, it kind of makes it redundant.
Well, I think the Maxwell plot, it's a good ideal separated from the Cheetah plot. I
Right.
feel like if they were to go back to the drawing board on this movie, if we either pick which one we want, Cheetah or Maxwell, and we cut the other one and just had one villain, it would give them more time to focus. They would have to rewrite Cheetah's backstory, but I think that would honestly be better. I do want to touch on the Themyscira scene for some reason. Uh, she won that. In my opinion, I feel like Wonder Woman won that, and her parents gaslit her the whole time, and she definitely deserved to have won that competition.
Well,
It was
I think it was important for her to lose that competition because with like the lasso of truth, we're seeing how the truth is a big part of the Wonder Woman's mythos. And if she were to win that competition, it would basically throw that all out. Just like, okay, you won this, but you still have to abide by the truth. And we've seen just like how it works when it comes to the truth and the characters. We couldn't have done that. But I do think she did not win. She won because she was first, but she didn't win morally. And that's the thing that we got from Wonder Woman 1984 is that you can win, you can get everything you want in life, but there's going to be consequences if you take shortcuts or if you go towards a path that necessarily isn't honorable.
mm, yeah. Did you never mind, later. So, what did you feel about the Chris Pine plot?
I was not a fan of it. I actually hated the Steve Trevor plot, and I hated Steve Trevor so much because he was not necessary, and he was a hindrance to Diana throughout the movie. And we saw that throughout the movie when she is literally so in love with the man she was with for a week nearly 80 years ago, and she's been fawning over him since then. And that's not the Wonder Woman that we were introduced to in the first movie. So I hated his plot. I thought it was completely unnecessary. Diana was literally willing to give up her power, let the world crumble. Also, she could have a life with the man who's in the body of another man.
Yeah.
That made no sense to me.
I think the ideal was that she has been focused on him these past 80 years,
And
and
that
she
and that's
hasn't
the
moved on.
problem. And that's a problem because the Wonder Woman who we were introduced to throughout that movie, who fought Ares in that first movie, she was not a hell bent love-struck, digmatized woman. She was a warrior who was sent on the mission and whose goal was to complete the mission at all costs. And we did not get that. We got a lovesick puppy who only realized that the world was crumbling, and that's why she should change. Because if the world would not have been burning in front of her eyes, she would have stayed with Chris Pine, or she would have stayed with Steve Trevor, and that's the issue. My other issue is this was a very pro-Israel film. Now, I am not a big. I don't know a lot about the Saudi-Israel conflict, but I did see a tweet that says Gal Gadot saving black and brown kids is the fiction that we needed in 2020. And I was like, that is pretty intense.
Yeah, I think there is undertones of sort of political drama in there with the Egyptian wall that they built, and a little bit of the conversation has to be put towards Gal Gadot's well, her belief based on where she's grown up and what she was. She was part of the Israeli military, as most of them are, because I think it's mandatory
Yeah,
there
it
to
is
join the
mandatory.
military. So you have to take those into perspective and mind that not everyone is perfect. I mean, Gal Gadot's not, she's Wonder Woman, but she's not a Wonder Woman. She still has her faults and she still has her beliefs just like everybody else. And it's,
And see that, and that's the issue. We shouldn't see Gal Gadot's beliefs and issues and political leanings in a movie about a literal goddess. And that's my
but I,
thing. And
but I
that's
feel
like
like,
we get where Gal Gadot is coming from, but I don't understand why we're seeing it in a movie about Wonder Woman. It would be cool if we saw it in a Gal Gadot biopic. I would completely understand that. But when we're seeing it in a fictional movie based on a comic book, that's where my issue comes up. And another
well,
issue, oh, go ahead.
I think it's too broad to just say, let's throw politics out of comic books in general, because you
Oh
can't.
no, you can't.
Because they still speak about it. And I think the conversation about her and her context and her thoughts on Israeli, I think that's more of a projection of us because of our knowledge of how she feels as opposed to her actually projecting it onto the screen.
Yeah. Hold up real quick. Okay, hello.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, but as I was saying with Gal Gadot, it's just like we shouldn't see her beliefs in this, and I think her beliefs hurt the script of the actual movie. Like with Israel and Saudi Arabia, like it really hurt. Like that plot line didn't need to be there, and I think that's also another issue I have. Like I get how the stone was supposed to change the world, but when when it hurts the overall when it hurts the overall theme of the movie, when it's about the truth, and instead we're going to Saudi Arabia and we're dealing with like Russia, and Russia came out of nowhere. The only reason why the Soviet Union was there was because of like a reaction to the United States. So that they didn't even really need to be in the film. And it's just like this film was all over the place. Like it was like normal. The last Wonder Woman was like a straight line. Wonder Woman 1984 was it started off straight, went up, went down, went left, went right, went back. Then it kind of ended where it was supposed to, and I think that's where it was hurt. That's where it was hurt as a film. Like we didn't really get the full aspect of Wonder Woman. Like we didn't see her go into her final form. We saw her barely winning, and that's okay. But when the second film, we need to see her as the juggernaut that she is, because it's still 1984. She still has a come in contact with Superman and Batman and the Justice League. So we need to be able to see her as the juggernaut that she's supposed to be, and why Bruce Wayne would have gone out of his way to recruit her.
Well, I think it also it suffers from the idea that one, they didn't have the perfect time period. Like for the first movie, they said it basically it was in World War One, trenches, easy to keep everything under wraps, one clear villain, as opposed to 1984, where they need to write a plot that A never happened. Something that would happen, but people would never remember and nobody would ever note that she was part of it.
Right.
And two, they didn't have like a central specific villain to focus on for this movie. And so they came up with the stone with the ideal that it's the perfect thing. Everyone's getting their wish granted. Everybody gives up their wish. People don't remember the day. It could be chopped up to this was the Cuban Missile Crisis or whatever. But I think where they go in the future and what I'm more because there's the third Wonder Woman movie coming, but where do you set it now? Because with
I
the
want to set
DC,
in the present. I want to set in the present. No more time period pieces. No more time period pieces from DC, just because it hurts them. Like they can do whatever in the past, but like when we're looking at BVS and Justice League, she has her sword and her shield, and they didn't explain why she doesn't have her sword and her shield in 1984. So you mean the time between 1984 and 2019 or 2018, whenever Justice League was based, she just found the ancient sword and the ancient shield. And also, another thing with the whole invisible jet, like I understand it, but where's the jet now? Like you can have use that jet did she use the jet in BVS? Or just
I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think
She
she did.
doesn't need it though now. She can fly.
Okay, but she still has the jet. So that's the thing. And that's my
But
other issue. How can you just say, you know what? How can Steve Trevor release you and you just learn how to fly? So you mean to tell me for
the point
literally
of that scene, they say from the beginning, Steve was a pilot. They and Wonder Woman says that that's his gift. His gift is that he's a pilot and he knows how to fly. That was also why they let him pilot a jet, even though it's been 80 years of advancement. He shouldn't be able to. The ideal is that his gift is that he can fly. And when she let go of him, she learned his gift. He taught her how to fly. That was the point of that scene.
yeah, that's stupid. And I'm gonna tell you why that's stupid. So you mean to tell me one woman has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, and it took her 2 weeks, 80 years apart to learn how to fly? Like
Well,
that
I don't
makes
think she's
no sense.
actively working on making herself more powerful. Like she mentions that she's been working on trying to make things invisible for like years. I
Yeah.
think her powers are a lot slower to grow than we anticipate.
And but see, that's another issue. Like she is a literal goddess. She is the head of a culture. And so for her to just have a 2 week vacation with some guy and learn how to fly in that time period is crazy. And also, Steve Trevor should not learn how to drive. He should not know how to drive. I'm gonna tell you why. Do you know what cars were out in 1919? Let me check the cars that were out in 1919.
Well, I think another thing you have to keep in mind is there's no one there to teach Wonder Woman her powers. Like Ares is dead, Zeus, all the gods are supposedly dead. So she's learning this on her own. And I think that that's also another reason why she's not as powerful as she should be.
Okay, in 1919, the most popular car was the Ford Model T. And let me tell you, the Ford Model T is nothing compared to the cars in 1984. There were planes in 1919. There weren't jets in 1984. So you mean to tell me Steve Trevor died, came back in the day, automatically knew how to fly, automatically knew how to drive, and we're just supposed to believe that? Like that
I mean,
literally.
driving's not that hard. Flying, maybe. Driving, not really.
Yeah,
The principles are there.
okay, but you're talking from a driver perspective. You're not talking from you weren't born there. So you mean to tell me he died in 1919, came back in a different body in 1984, and then just was like, okay, cool, I know how to drive. And also, he came back in another person's body and was like, I don't know how I got here. I'm gonna just keep kicking it. No. So you mean to tell me that person didn't have no job, no responsibilities? He was just able to drop completely what he was doing and follow Wonder Woman around the world. That makes no sense.
It was like 2 days. People go missing for like 2 or 3 days.
No, you can't. You can't.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, but just lastly, let's close this out. What would you give Wonder Woman 1984 out of 10?
Good 7 or 8.
Okay, I would give it a 5 out of 10. I wasn't really impressed. It was all right. But lastly, have you been let's just talk about some DC news real quick since we're on the subject. Have you been following the Ray Fisher drama?
No. I saw it on Twitter and I was just like, I don't have the energy.
Yeah, I think what it's come down to is that Ray Fisher has become a proxy for Zack Snyder, and it's unfortunate for Ray Fisher, him being a black man in Hollywood, and we know the stigma that comes with unruly black actors in Hollywood, and we're seeing that now. And he's like calling out the head of Warner Brothers. He's like, I'm never going to work with DC films again as long as this person is involved. And it's just like, okay, they have another cyborg in that universe who they can just call up. And another thing that we're seeing is that the Snyderverse is going to end with this BVS Ultimate or whatever it's called. So
the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
Honestly, moving forward, I think they're just going to be making individual movies like they do now. Like, just make Wonder Woman, just make Aquaman, and they don't need to bring them together anymore. Yeah. Until they have an ideal for it.
And I think what's hurt the DC universe is that we're seeing gods, and they didn't necessarily need to do the MCU version where they introduce each character individually. Like, people already knew about the Justice League. Like, we shouldn't have had to see the growth of Superman. He should have already been Superman. We shouldn't have seen like an old Batman. He should have been in his prime. Wonder Woman, we shouldn't have seen her just coming into reality. She's already the badass that we needed to see. So that is what I believe. But yeah, no, that's about it. Once again, thank you for listening. I am your host, Flo, aka Flo's my hero, aka call me what you want. Just don't call me lazy. Follow the brand on all social media platforms at 26 in Glencoe. Follow Metro Meta on all platforms at Metro Meta 26. We have a bunch of content coming out within the next few weeks. And until next time, peace.
Happy holidays.